this, and other people that couldn't be here today can hear it. So we are recording now. So Bucky, I'm tossing the ball to you to get these introductions done so you know who's in front of you and where they're working on campus.
All right, very good. Well, it's good to see all of you again. I think we've had the opportunity to connect before in a number of settings, and so thanks for having me back. And it wouldn't be today without wishing you, May the 4th be with you, right? I think we have to do that. So, so if we could, just for my benefit and really for everyone's benefit, if we could kind of go around the virtual room here just for a moment and introduce yourself. The function you have there at the college, and then once we do that, then I'll kind of go in a show and tell mode in terms of talking a little bit about the strategy, but also really welcoming your reactions, thoughts, questions. It really is an informal opportunity to talk through that. So, so what we'll do is we'll just kind of take whoever would like to go first, and we'll just go until everyone is quiet. How about that?
Stephen, and I'm with Arts, English, and Humanities.
Hey, good to see you, Stephen.
Yes, I'll jump in, Bucky. I was part of the meeting, so I'm Mike, and I'm also with Arts, English, and Humanities.
Great, good to see you, Mike.
Hi, Bucky. Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Jennifer in psychology. So it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
And I'm the other Jennifer, and I'm in AEH as well.
Good to see you, Jennifer.
My apologies. This is Melissa. I'm from business.
Good to see you.
I'm Courtney. I'm the Instruction and Virtual Services Librarian.
Good to see you, Courtney.
My name is Michelle. I'm in biology.
Good to see you.
My name is Caleb Reamer. I'm adjunct physics 1 and 2.
Good to see you, Caleb.
I am Anne. I'm with the library as well, and I'm also an online adjunct.
Awesome. Good to see you.
I'm Dawn. I'm with child development.
Hey, Dawn.
I'm Amanda. I'm the
Hey,
registrar.
Good for you to be here. Thank you.
I'm Lee Aaron. I'm new to this group because I'm going to do something called online implementation.
Awesome. You're going to make it happen, right?
Apparently.
All right.
Given that I just had to cancel my only in-person summer section because my students only want to be online, I think it's good for my department.
Very good. I'm glad you're here.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Baker. I'm the director at the Center for Learning and Teaching.
Hey, Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Sarah Baker. I'm SLPA program director.
Good to see you, Sarah. Anyone else?
The last one that I see down there is Candy.
Okay. Hey,
And
Candy.
Yes, she is with Arts, English, and Humanities, and my
Good.
QM partner in crime.
Wonderful.
Hi, Becky. How are you?
Hey, good to see you. All right. So I think we've got everyone. So if I missed anyone, I apologize. Feel free to interrupt me and introduce yourself if you'd like. But as I mentioned, so we're going to be going through a couple of things today. One is I want to share back with you the excellent work that really the group done back in February. And this has really been a great opportunity, I think, to take a lot of ideas, synthesize them. And I'm going to share two things. One is kind of an executive summary of at a very high level. And then I'm going to demonstrate for you this tool called a portfolio that all the kind of components that we all worked on together fit into. And this is really your playbook, right? It details in excruciating detail what the suggestions I recommend you work on, the things the order that things would happen in, phases. And so it really is a very implementation and practically focused tool that I think will be a really great resource for us as we continue to grow online learning here at OCCC. So before I jump in, I just want to pause for any questions or anything that anyone would like to share before we jump into that piece of it. All right, very good. So I'm going to share my screen, which means, let's see here. So you should be seeing the strategy summary, correct? All right, awesome. So as I share my screen, feel free to interrupt me. Just open your mic and call out there. I will try to keep an eye on the chat window as well. So if you have a question, we want to make sure we get that addressed and talked about there. So here's kind of what I want to go over with us today. So I want to just kind of take a brief trip down memory lane around the project goals, priorities, the processes. We talked about these in February, but I think I just want to bring them right back up to kind of refresh our thoughts on that. I also want to talk a little bit about the high-level analysis. We heard from obviously the workshop, strategy workshops, but also in the interviews and focus groups there. And I want to summarize some of those key themes. There are some more additional details in the portfolio that you can certainly go through as well. I then want to talk about this strategy phases, and this is really aimed to organize a set of priorities in an order to grow the online activities here at the college there. And then I'm going to talk about the strategy portfolio that I mentioned before. So this is kind of a high-level overview of the process and journey that we've been on. So as I mentioned, back in February, we had a data and strategy workshop. The actual very first workshop was looking about what data do we have available, how do we sort of monitor and track our online learning activities. And then we also had the strategy workshops, which were really more idea and visioning focused, right? Where do we want to be? How do we want to get there? What are the resources that we need to make that happen? We also, I think, 2 weeks later, that week and a half later from those, we had a series of stakeholder interviews and focus groups. And this was over a period of 2 days, really talking to people about their hopes, dreams, concerns, ideas related to online learning. And those two pieces there really informed the bulk of the data, if you will, that is informing the strategy. From there, I took that information and developed this portfolio, and that's what I'm going to share here in just a moment. This portfolio is meant to be an actionable tool. And so, you may have gone through strategic planning processes in the past and come out with a document. That document may get set on a shelf somewhere and no one looks at it until it's time to do your strategic planning again. That is not what this is. This is meant to be a living, breathing, actionable tool that is really actually already informing planning and actions and things of that nature as well. From there, and which is really where we are now, is moving into the strategy implementation. It's great to have a plan, but you have to put the plan into practice, right? And so that really is where we are at this moment, while all the time using data-informed sort of agile planning, right? If the last few years have taught us anything, it's recognizing that even the best of plans can be thrown out the window in very unforeseen events, right? And so what we want to be able to do is bring forward data in an informed way to a collective and really to make the best decisions based on that work while pointing in the direction that we want to be for our students, right? And so that is the overall journey and process that we are on here. Let me summarize a few sort of key analysis of the findings. And this is from the summary and analysis that I've done by collecting the various data points and conversations and things. The first of all, there is a strong commitment, I think, just in every audience and every person I talked with, in some degree of the conversation, there is a strong commitment to a culture around student care and success, right? The reason why you are here is because you're students, and that is coming through loud and clear, both in the things that you are doing and the things that you want to do, the aspirations that are there. And so that, I think, is first and foremost the loudest sort of theme that came out of a lot of the work. The second component really is a desire for more clarity regarding the vision, roles, responsibilities, policies for online learning, how we do what we do. What was very interesting, and having, collaborated and worked with a lot of groups, in my career, groups tend to take two approaches at this. One approach is sort of like, I'm throwing my hands up. We don't have that, right? When they lack it. The other group, which is what I really heard from this group, is we want that. We need that. We need it in order to move forward. And I think that is a really productive and a healthy approach to growing online learning here, right? It's recognizing the things that we need to be able to serve the students in the most effective way possible. And so the other good part about this, the planning process, the strategic planning process, is designed to address that sort of element there. The other sort of third main finding was a perception of insufficient sort of current infrastructure necessary to sustain and advance quality online learning. And when I use the term infrastructure, I'm using it in a very broad way, all the way from technology infrastructure through time, through training, the things that are needed to make this work happen. And so, recognizing these three elements, and there, of course, are additional themes that came out of that work. But to me, these three elements are a really strong foundation to build on, because it recognizes that we know why we're here, right? It's for our students. We know we need to sort of dial in and focus where we want to be and how online learning functions there. And we recognize that in order to get there, we've got to make some choices and investments in terms of how we propel that forward. And so I think this is a very strong basis for the work that is going on here. So based on that and the ideation that is taking part there, I've essentially laid out 4 phases as a suggestion for you. Now, when you look at strategic planning, deliverables, if you will, products, there's a couple of ways you tend to see them. Some are by dates, right? By this date, we will have accomplished these sort of things. I actually think that there's opportunities to accelerate for you all if you chose to do that. But there's also some really critical things that we need to have happen before we can take the next steps. And this was part of that theme of saying, we want to be able to mature our online learning efforts and our work and serve our students, but we need that infrastructure to be there in order for it to happen. And so the way I laid this out is really at phases. So you can kind of think about these things as we need to accomplish the things in phase 1 before we go to phase 2. And so I've outlined a suggested time frame, but these time frames are contingent based on the milestones that are outlined in each. And I'll show those in detail here in just a moment. So the 4 phases that I've proposed here for you to consider and to look at is really, first of all, building and strengthening the foundation for online learning excellence and growth. So this means investing in professional development. It means investing in tuning processes so that people can access the technical support and resources when and how they need them. It means dealing with policies to ensure that the policies are lined up to the direction that you want to take it, right? And so really that foundation building piece is a really critical piece, because the other things aren't going to happen without that foundation, right? It really needs to be based on the success of students at the core. The second phase is really aimed at sort of becoming a leading provider of online micro-credential certificates and associate degrees in the Oklahoma City metropolitan area. One of the things that really stood out to me in talking with the group was this really energy around micro-credentials, the work that you are doing as an institution there, and recognizing that those can be very powerful pathways for people to engage in education and pursue their educational goals in a very time effective and affordable way, accessing quality experiences. And so by leveraging that and the capabilities there across certificates and associate degrees, people want to see that this is the destination to go to pursue your education, right? To pursue that dream there. That is probably a 12 to 18-month process. It takes building on the strengths of phase one, but it also takes projecting and making it easy for people to find and explore and identify a program that is right for them, reaching out to the supports that are available for helping them make those choices and decisions. And so this is a more taking the infrastructure that is being built and projecting it out to the service area so they know who we are, how we can help them, and the way that they can engage with us easily and efficiently. Phase three is really focused on becoming a leading provider of online certificate and associate degree completion programs in Oklahoma. There is a healthy population, not in a good way, of adults in Oklahoma who have some college, no degree. And, it's granted, there are institutions across the state who are trying to meet this need as well. There are some suggestions I've put into the portfolio that are ways of differentiating and finding your unique sort of service, dimension there that can really be a destination point for people to complete the degrees that are there. And then a phase four, and this is a farther out sort of idea. There was some interest around, how do you expand, beyond Oklahoma in some cases. And so I've outlined a suggestion for how to do that for the institution there. And that is really around expanding into strategic out-of-state markets. So I'm going to kind of annotate as I go through this. Not every market, right? It's not worldwide type thing, right? Being surgical. With online micro credentials, certificates, and associate degrees that are in demand in that said market and underserved in that market, right? And ideally, you pull on your strengths that you have as an institution to differentiate in that. The reason for that is it takes a lot of time and a lot of money and a lot of resources to basically extend a brand of an institution beyond that area. And so by being strategic about that, you're able to save time, save money, and ultimately still align very cohesively with the mission of the institution. And it should feel very natural expansion of your mission, not something that is forced or arbitrary, right? And so it needs to feel right from a mission and vision standpoint. So those four phases, when we look at how those outline, are really at the foundation and the core of the direction of the strategy, right? But it all starts here at phase one, right? Anything that we invest in here in doing is going to be a necessary component for the work that is going on here. So in a moment, I'm going to open the strategy portfolio and kind of walk you through the resources. I won't go through it in detail, but I wanted to provide sort of a robust explanation at a high level here in this document. But before I do that, I do want to pause and just take any questions, reactions, thoughts as you hear those the information being shared there. So as for those of you who are in the strategic planning workshops and in the interviews and focus groups, do these things seem like a natural extension of the conversations that you were a part of and the things that were discussed obviously at a summary level? But thank you, Candy. And I guess the even more important question is, does a vision like this seem exciting to you? Is it something that, it's, you could wake up every day and say, yeah, we're serving our students in this way, and here's kind of a roadmap to do that? Because there should be a sense of excitement. Yeah.
If I can say something, I think one of the exciting things is that the potential for growth and the potential that we have here. I mean, we are a community college to access individuals and open our doors to individuals that wouldn't otherwise have that opportunity, I think is exciting if you look at it from that perspective. So I'm excited about that for
Absolutely.
college.
It's wonderful.
Our website will be revised, updated, but we're up to 34 programs out there on a list that can be completed 100% online. So, and then we're also going to be meeting about how to code our students so that we can run reports. So more about that later also. So those are a couple of the things that we're putting our toe in the water.
Yeah, that's a great point, Kathy. And for the group, and especially those who are involved in the implementation side, or will be involved in the implementation side, one of the things that we've done from the elements here in this portfolio that I'll walk through is we've put these tasks into a project management system, essentially, right? And so we're tracking item by item where the progress is at on the strategy, the steps, the actions that are going. So really at any given moment, someone could say, where are we at in our online strategy? And a click of a button and here's our report, right? And you know, and it's evidence-based, it's practical, right? Everyone knows it. So
Just for clarification, and this may be a question for Gabby. When you talk about our website, are you talking about the online student webpage or the website as a whole?
We cannot control OCCC's website. Like that is mandated, but when they click into the online landing page, it's going to be more functional, more modern, I guess, more intuitive for what students are used to seeing. And Bucky has provided some information during our weekly meetings that I'm going to be taking to the people that do that. We'll have a separate meeting with them, because right now, if a student even tries to find online, once they get there, it's not intuitive for what they may be looking for. Better than it was, but needs improvement.
and that's a great question. You know, the just as sort of an illustrative example of actually some of the things, the personas, if you recall, that we talked through, is dialing in what the people that we're trying to reach need, what are the questions and things that they are trying to answer, and make it easy for them, right? It should be something that from the point that they begin to initiate thinking about going to school, they feel welcome, right? They feel included. They feel that this is where I need to be. And that starts when they start, you know, exploring the website as an example. Yeah. Great questions. Any other comments or thoughts before we dive into the portfolio? All right. Well, feel free to put them in the chat or interrupt me if you like. So this is the link that Kathy will share out. It is as I mentioned, it's a game plan. So it's web-based. It's not like a document to print out. So it's online. You could use it on your phone. And so essentially, if we dive into here, you'll see that we essentially broke out the information around the development process, the things I just walked through, some of the insights and the analysis that are there, and then into the phases. And so I'm just going to briefly go through and highlight some of the features that are here. The nice part about this is it's searchable. So if you want to search, if you know a term that you're looking for, you can, you know, plop that in and it, you know, will be able to take you directly there. You know, it's also, we kind of documented this. I put some photos of people working in there, right? It's kind of nice to realize, you know, we did this work, right? It's not something that is disconnected from who the community is that's doing it. People were involved in crafting this vision, right? And so I try to incorporate those in there. These are all selectable, but also downloadable in PDF formats as well. So this is essentially the synthesized work that the groups were going through. These are the data strategy canvases. the strategy development workshops that were there. You'll see there's a lot of ideas and things, but those can all be zoomed in on. These are actual photos of the work that was done in the workshop. So you can go through and sort of select and see, here's what one group had to say, or that what their thinking process was like, you know. And so the idea that those come out there, the persona list here, as well as the persona development that was articulated there. So some of you who are in those sessions may see your group's work in that, which is great, you know. This was the focus groups and interviews. These were some of the general overarching questions that were asked and presented to the groups. This is a summary of analysis, both from the workshops, but also the focus groups. And you will see here, obviously, the three main outcomes or three analysis points that I mentioned. But there is a lot more detail and narrative that is provided behind these themes, right? And so tried to really expand on those so that we bring those forward in a way that is helpful and descriptive. The playbook overview here is where we overview those strategy phases. And you'll see here that I included the phases I mentioned before, but also listed what are some key performance indicators that you really want to be dialed into at each phase. There, of course, are more details and things like that, but these are kind of some of the core ones that really deserve attention and focus. And you'll see here those expanded out there. Each phase is organized and laid out in a consistent way. So I'm going to go through phase one, and then you can sort of take the journey into the other phases if you like. And naturally, those will evolve too, right? We'll learn things in phase one that will maybe cause us to ponder and say, you know, is that, you know, truly how we want to tackle a priority in phase two, and so forth. But so what we have here is some descriptive about the phase itself. And you'll actually see, I guess one way you're describing this is kind of an annotated job description for key roles as it relates to growing online learning aligned to the strategies. So here I've outlined some things that academic affairs leadership should be doing and focused on, right? What are the very practical things that should find its way into that work? Focused on the things that the Dean for Online Learning should be focused on and doing. These are all quantifiable things that actually shows up in that list that I mentioned, right? The project tracking list. And you'll see here that on Center for Learning and Teaching, I know there's work going on already with the learning management system that was mentioned there. So we just put that on there. Some of these things are already in progress, but we don't want to lose sight of them. The other thing that really stood out to me, and this was kind of in that second bucket that I talked about, was this idea around, you know, who is on first, right? This roles and responsibilities across the institution. And so what I've done for each phase, which these may shift a little bit over time, right? As those roles and responsibilities go, I've actually outlined a summary of responsibilities across key areas of the institution. And so this is, you know, meant to be a starting point. It's not meant to be definitive or you know, cast in stone by necessary, but it is meant to be a good organizing and collaboration structure, right? If we have a lack of clarity around who is supposed to be doing what and how we can work together on that, it becomes really more difficult to accomplish the outcomes. And so I've done those roles and responsibilities for each and every phase and sort of what that particular group would be focused on at that stage. So I'll quickly kind of just click through 2 and 3 and 4, just so you kind of see that these are very, very similar in nature. It articulates also recommendations for where the institution should be thinking about prioritizing resources at each phase, right? What are the appropriate talent and team that you need to be able to accomplish those things? It outlines those in detail as well. And so certainly would encourage you to go through those in detail, but I just wanted to kind of illustrate the level of granularity that is included in the tool. So, all right. So with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can better see everyone here, and then ask for your questions, thoughts, or things that you'd like to see. If I can certainly reshare my screen and show anything that you would be interested in. So.
So I think probably one of the burning questions is that how does the role of the steering committee fit into this?
Mhm.
That would be my question as a
Yeah.
steering committee meeting. And then where did this implementation team come from? And why?
Yeah.
What did you and Kathy cook up?
Very good. Like a planted question, Kathy is. So let me talk a little bit about, so the steering committee, as it was, and this is kind of articulated in the portfolio too. There seemed to me to be a lack of clarity around the role that the steering committee historically was serving. And so what we wanted to do was really, first of all, clarify that, right? So you as a committee knew what you're getting yourselves into and the things that you should be thinking about as it relates to this. And then the second component of that is the implementation team. So let me kind of talk about those two sort of groups as they overlap. They're kind of an overlapped Venn diagram, right? So the steering committee is really there to provide guidance, ears, eyes, of what is going on in an institution, being able to bring the collective wisdom of your experiences, your roles, concerns that you are hearing to a group of people who have a genuine and common interest in seeing online learning thrive and be successful, right? And so the idea is that you're the brain trust, right? You should be informed about what is going on at all times about the strategic direction of online learning, but also play a very important role in crafting and dialing in the work of online learning at the institution. And so in many regards, this portfolio is your kind of galvanizing document to have conversations around, having good debate around, and thinking about what is truly a benefit for the institution as it relates to online learning. Now, anyone who has been on a committee knows what I'm going to say next, right? Because when you have a large committee, the benefit of that is that you have a diverse array of ideas and perspectives and thoughts, and that's exactly what you want to make online learning successful at the institution. The other side of that coin is that it can become difficult for committees of this size to focus on tactical sort of implementation efforts, right, that are going on there. And so that is where the implementation team there. Now, they are a part of the steering committee, so they are aware and engaged in part of those conversations. But their question that they are sort of have in the back of their mind is, how do we get our institution to do this work, right? And so that may be involved in sitting down with people over coffee sometime and saying, okay, we've got this process that we really need to tune up a little bit, right? We're getting some concerns. Our steering committee is bringing forward concerns of maybe students getting what they need. And so going to various stakeholders and partners across the institution, building those relationships and helping them see how the work that they do lines up and connects to the strategy that is outlined, right? So it's not necessarily another job or anything like that, but the nature of the work is a little bit more tactical than it is strategic, if that makes sense. And so think about that as the bridge, right, between the steering committee to the actual sort of work and the activities that go on at the institution. Kathy, does that answer your question?
I think it does.
Okay.
I as a steering committee person, I don't mind providing my knowledge, but I would want to be listened to and considered.
Yeah.
So when I send this link out, it is not, as you saw the package, it's not something that you just want to forward to your faculty. That's not what this is about. This is giving you the playbook for what we're going to be working on. And we're working on phase 1 right now. I can send you a list of things that we're working on for the month of May. What we hope to get done in the month of May. and with some questions, you know, do we have this in the right priority? What are some things that we need to be thinking about that we, you know, that are going to affect other departments? In our implementation team, we want you to talk to people, your chairs, your faculty, your dean, you know, people that you feel safe sharing with. You know, we're going to be doing this stuff. How is this going to affect us? And are we moving too fast or too slow? For example, both with Cole and OCO, we're working on getting statewide trainings for, let's say, accessibility, but there are trainings within our institution. The CLT does an excellent job, but we would like to have some mini things accessible. I want to bring in Simon Ringsmith to do a presentation for you all about engagement. He's got some wonderful outside the box, outside the line ways with engagement. So we have these things we want to do, but we also, it's like, I'm giving you a taste of our stew. What does it have too much of, and what do we need to add? So it's truly your insight and your input that we're after, not necessarily tasks. Now, one of the tasks that we're going to be putting out there is a shared Google document as far as instead of a mission statement like a charter. Okay, so it's going to be a working document that you guys can insert opinions on that so that we have a charge. Bucky, I don't remember whether we were going to do this as a combined effort between the steering and the implementation
Yeah,
team. I think
yeah.
we were.
Yes, absolutely. So, you know, this is an opportunity for this group to articulate your ideas around your sort of things that you see this group doing, right, tactically. And so, and really think, you know, think deeply about that, right? You know, it should be, doesn't have to be a long list, but it should be a powerful list, right, of things that this group really, you know, is dedicated to doing to advance online learning. You know, at the implementation side, because, you know, I've had the opportunity to serve in sort of both of these capacities, you know, and, you know, that can be a really helpful resource for those who are having to go to people and talk to them about online learning. One is just educating about here's what online learning is in some cases, because they may have a you know, a skewed definition about how that happens or some ideas. And so it's educating, but it ultimately is building relationships, but knowing that you have the sort of guidance of the steering committee that you're able to lean on to be able to do that in a confident way. And so it's truly a team sport, right? It takes that working together, but also having those differentiated points as well. So
I put up some thoughts, you know, that Bucky had shared with me. And so these are thoughts for you too, okay? For example, if you look at division of business anticipates a need for blank in the near future. So, you know, you've got things for steering committee and things for implementation team. These are seeds for thought, okay? Not dictated, but an idea about the difference between the two teams. Does that kind of help you?
yeah, these were kind of just a laundry list of examples that I kind of thought, you know, what generally might you expect between these two, you know, two related but differentiated groups there. So I would like to hear from the group here, just your thoughts and ideas about the strategy, the direction, any sort of burning questions that you have that would be helpful to kind of, you know, unpack and talk through here.
I think it would be beneficial to the college at large and faculty at large if we're as transparent as possible in terms of who's serving on what and what roles they serve. So if I'm on a steering committee, faculty can come to me with these issues. If I'm on the implementation team, they can come to me with these issues. And so that way, we're not getting crossed up between who's doing what and where, but that there's some real clarity on who's doing what, but that's almost out there in a flow chart type thing where people can say, okay, I have this question, here's who I go to.
Yeah. That's a great suggestion. I agree and support that wholeheartedly, right? The more transparent and open, you essentially you build the team, right? And that's what we want to do and get more people involved in that. Yeah.
This is probably because this is my very first meeting here, but I will admit to a lot of confusion, a lot. That examples are helpful, I think. I also want the practical question answered of when do we meet? How often do we meet? When are the implementation team supposed to start? What am I supposed to know? And I don't need all those answers right this moment.
Yep.
But I saw a few things in that strategic plan that were very specific. Like I saw the words quality matters, and that definitely raised a little, oh, okay, has that decision already been made? Flag for me, because I'm not on the steering committee, so I don't know. And I saw some other things that were not very specific, right? That were very more like, it sounds like it's still in progress. Yep. So I guess I'm saying I don't have anything to say because I'm very, a little bit still fuzzy about.
Sure. Yeah. So it's a great point. And so, I would sort of suggest a good next step is probably to have a conversation with those in the implementation, who have been identified for the implementation, and really parse through each and every one of those questions and kind of work together on that clarity, right? Because as we lean into it, especially at the start, you're exactly right. There is going to be a little bit of fuzziness that we just lean into and make more clear through that work that is there, right?
Well, and what we had envisioned, the unspoken thing right now is we're in the middle of a hunt for our new leader. We have concluded the initial interviews and are setting up second interviews. So, that's coming down the pike. That can alter the pace that we do things with, but Glenay is very much involved in what we're doing right now. Ideally, we would meet as the full steering committee about every 4 to 5 weeks. And it may be our smaller 2-pizza group, as Bucky calls us. Implementation team may need to meet more frequently, but for a shorter amount of time, just to see where we're at, maybe every 2 weeks for a 30-minute session. Now, I'm also going to bring up the other thing that, I know a lot of you don't work, you're not on quote payroll or whatever, June and July. Am I the faculty members, correct? Correct. So that kind of limits us for June and July unless you're already teaching. So, it would be nice if we could do a meeting in June and one in July, but I don't want to cut into your personal time. It could be one of those things that if we get like an 80% majority that would like to meet, then I can record it the way I'm doing it right now. So if you want to send me a private email or give me a shout by phone or whatever your feelings about that, I certainly respect the fact that some of you are on 9 or 10-month contracts. And you may not want to think about OCCC during that time period. But then there are several of us on the committee that are 12-month employees. So, but starting mid-August, what I would like to do is get a regular meeting schedule out there based around all the other committee meetings that we have to see that you can get them on your calendars and be able to plan for them instead of them just dropping out of the sky, right? Erin, does that help answer some of the questions that you posed?
Yes. I'll just, whatever the implementation team is, that contract issue is a real one. And I want to be of use and service to my institution. I also want us to be very realistic about what a 9 to 10 month timeline looks like when summers, which would be prime time to do this. I mean, we should be, I'm not saying, you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
Our summertime is adjunct work. No matter what else, like even if we're here, we're adjuncting, and that service is not a part of that.
Yeah.
Well, Bucky might not necessarily be a part of all of our steering committee meetings, so you need to poke questions at him. And you also need to not be afraid to take questions directly to him and maybe not include me, okay? He has got a very strong reputation in the state of Oklahoma for doing what's best for students and faculty and making online work. So you may have a question that you would rather pose to him. And he's my partner, but he's also my voice of reason. He doesn't want us to fail. Okay. So shoot those questions to him. Bucky, this is normally not a quiet group.
I think for me, I just need to go through the documents.
Yeah, there's a lot of information here, right? You know, so
I'll probably have questions about
absolutely, yeah. Questions are good. I mean, those are where we lean into to refine and to, you know, make our strategy and our work as focused and intentional as it can be.
For posterity, I'm going to turn off the recording. Maybe that's what's making everybody nervous. If I can find it.